Tech Sideline is presented by First Bank and Trust Company. They offer free checking with industry-leading mobile banking. Who you choose to bank with can make all the difference. Visit firstbank.com to learn more.
What's up, Hokie Nation, and welcome into episode 414 of the Tech Sideline Podcast. Hey, we're about halfway through the Virginia Tech softball season, so who better to bring on than Virginia Tech head softball coach Pete DeMore? He joins us for the second time this season across the way. Episode 414 of the Tech Sideline Podcast starts right now. We welcome you back to episode 414 of the Tech Sideline Podcast. We record on Tuesday, March 25th, 2025 from the Virginia Tech Corporate Research Center in Blacksburg, Virginia. This is kind of episode 9 of the Pete DeMore Podcast. It's also episode 414 of the Tech Sideline Podcast, and we have quite the crew on set today. So to my right is our Hokie softball guru, Mr. Chip Grubb. Across the way is friend of the show, Virginia Tech head softball coach Pete DeMore. Coach, as always, I appreciate your time. Thank you for coming in for the second time this year.
Second time in a year.
I know. This is awesome.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Glad to be here.
I'm your host, as always, Carter Hill, as well. Coach, you kind of had a bye week this weekend. Was it interesting to have some time off? I know you went recruiting, but was it nice to unplug for a little bit as well?
It was. We practiced on Friday, and I told the players, if you have a good practice, we'll be off this weekend. It's kind of like the carrot, dangling the carrot in front of them.
Yeah.
And we practiced really well. So I got on the road, recruited, and then Saturday night, I went down to Mr. Grubb's condo at Pigeon Forge. Rode a bunch of roller coasters on Sunday.
Did you really?
Not a bunch, because I'm out of recruiting shape. So on Saturday, I stood on concrete for 8 hours and went to sleep Saturday night and woke up with a sore back on Sunday.
Oh,
so I'm walking around Dollywood and my back was sore. So getting old. Don't get old.
Yeah.
Don't get old.
That's the plan. I'm not trying to. Chip, how was your weekend? Did you go to Dollywood with Coach?
No. Coach needed to get some away time. And, if you have a hurt back, some of those coasters at Dollywood are not fun.
No. I avoided those.
I know you're a big roller coaster guy. You are as well. You told me last week you ventured out one day on a September afternoon. You got a day off. You're like, I'm going to drive to Dollywood.
Yeah.
So you got to do that. So I know you're a big roller coaster guy.
I am. Just I was telling somebody, it's almost like the butterflies you get before you ride a roller coaster is similar to when you coach. And so you go on the Wild Eagle, which is my favorite one. And if you ever been down there, go straight up. It's 200 feet in the air and you're going down. So you look at it, your heart starts beating. But you've been on it before.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be fine. So it's, I just like to get the stress out and scream a little bit and back on the road, and here I am.
What a great analogy!
I know,
a roller coaster to coaching. That is what is so amazing about this podcast.
Yes,
you learn something every single day.
Yes, from Pete DeMore, of course.
Yeah, of course.
Hey, the way you closed last week's podcast was awesome. By the way, you were talking about how I got into softball, and it was a nice life message. You were like, Carter, there are going to be times in your life where you just feel like you have to do something.
Yep.
And I took that to heart. I just want to let you know. I took that to heart. So you guys are 25-5 overall. You're 5-1 in the ACC. For those maybe watching for the first time, because we are on camera, how do you assess kind of where you guys are at this season? Where do you guys kind of think you are?
Yeah, we're playing well. We're playing well right now. I think the thing that stands out the most, well, first, we go off the field and the players like each other. It's a team first kind of mindset that we have, and they're all fighting for each other. So that's a big deal, and that's half the battle there. You look on, I think the thing that stands out right now is our defense. It's unbelievable how athletic and the plays we're making. And we were practicing yesterday, and we're doing team defense. And I don't do too much on defense, and Mike handles it. Of course, I give my input. And afterwards, I said, I've done this a long time. This is one of the best defenses I've ever seen.
Yeah. You're third in the country.
Yeah, and as far as percentage-wise, we were tied for first last week. Right. So whether it's third or first, it doesn't matter. It's pretty salty.
Yeah.
I think hitting-wise, we're fine. We're fine. I got a lot of compliments this weekend. Man, you guys hit the crap out of it. We always have. Yeah. But we're swinging well. I think we're trending to even swing even better. If that, we're just having good at-bats and hitting balls really hard. And pitching is doing well. We're 3 or 4 options out there that we could throw at any time, and so we're in a good spot.
You talked about Annika Rose, maybe the best defensive shortstop you've ever coached.
She's up there.
What makes her so good at short?
She's just gamey. She makes plays and uses her athleticism. There's really not saying that she's not thinking about it, but she made a play again in Louisville. I think it was Louisville, and it was in the backhand against a slapper, and she slid on her backhand side, threw it out in one motion. And I've seen that once in 17 years. It's just the game sense she has, you can't coach it.
Yeah.
And she's always in the game. She's an engine for us.
What about you, Chip? Watching her play this year, what's it been like watching her grow defensively?
Oh, she reminds me of a female Ozzie Smith.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She is just amazing there. And you've got, you look at your whole infield. Rachel moved over to second, and she made a play. I think it may have been at Louisville as well, where she went behind second base, backhands the ball, and throws the runner out at first.
Yep.
I mean that quite frankly, that was range that I didn't know she had.
Sure.
And then Jordan at third. Have you been surprised at Jordan at third? Because
No.
Just as a freshman, taken to third, it's like a fish in water.
No. I mean, you saw it. She played center for us. She played short growing up. She caught for us. You can play her in left. You can play her in right. I don't want to play her in first because she's too athletic. but Michelle is real athletic. She's played third. She played left. She's played right. Just be an athlete, and that's what Jordan's done since she's been here.
Okay, well, you talk about the versatility. When you play 11 or 12 consistently as you do, how much flexibility does that give you as a coach, and how many options does that give you night in and night out?
It's a lot of options, and I think the one thing where I struggle with, and not struggle, but it's a good problem to have, is who's going to hit in the DP slot? Who's going to do it? And you got a lot of options, which if you're not starting a DP, you can be pinch hitter for somebody. So the more options you have, the better. And you just got to keep the kids happy.
Yeah. Mentioned 25-5, 5-1 in the ACC. When you look at the league as a whole this year, I was going through the standings yesterday and kind of looking at this weekend. Florida State is still Florida State. Carolina is much improved. UVA is much improved. Clemson, you could say, is maybe better than people thought were going to be coming into the season. And then Stanford and Cal are making their presence known as well. Can you kind of speak to the strength of the ACC, and maybe is it the best as a whole it's been since you've been at Virginia Tech?
Yeah, there's no question about that. And you look at, I think we're looking at the stats, and Georgia Tech is having a good year as far as RPI goes. Louisville's top 50. Just a hard league right now, which is good. It prepares you for the end of the year. And so it used to be like in 19. All right, this is on the calendar. Let's circle them. It's not like that anymore. You got to be ready to play all the time.
Well, and I think also, too, you guys, there's no Duke, but for the most part, you have the front end of the league on the schedule.
Sure.
And there are some schools on there that maybe haven't performed the way they have wanted to this year that you guys don't have. So the strength of schedule in the ACC is probably as good as it's been as well, and that could bode well and come postseason play.
Yeah, absolutely. Stanford, Cal, Florida State, NC State's not playing bad.
Nope.
I mean, they can swing the crap out of it. And so, and Notre Dame's always Notre Dame. I mean, on stats, they might not be having a great year, but they can always play. So, it's a tough league.
Yeah.
It's a tough league.
And you've got a tough one coming to town.
Yep.
First time, I believe, that Virginia Tech has ever played Stanford in softball.
Correct.
And working on my preview, Stanford can swing the bat pretty good.
Yep.
Looks like 371 batting average, averaging 7.8 runs a game. That's going to be a challenge, but I know your ladies are up to it.
Yeah, we're not here to not be challenged. So our kids are ready for it. I've known Coach Allister for a long time. I know her family pretty well, respect what she does, and they'll be ready, and so will we.
What has been your view of Stanford as a program? Obviously, back-to-back Women's College World Series appearances, and maybe still a little strange to look at them and say, hey, ACC foe Stanford is coming to town this weekend. But probably the newness of it, too, is maybe a little bit cool and unique from your lens to have kind of some fresh blood in the league and one that typically performs well in softball.
Yeah, it's just another good team in our league. They're from California and all that. We don't see it like that. It's another opponent for us. Yeah. Let's prepare and see what happens on Friday, prepare again, see what happens Saturday, and do it again Sunday. So, it's a good team, and we just got to be ready for it.
we can talk about so many key contributors offensively, and we do every single week. But somebody that we haven't talked about the last couple of weeks is Bree Peck. And you look at her as a whole right now. I was reading Chip stuff on the boards the other day, hitting .359, 8 homers, 38 RBIs. She is, 2 homers away from tying the all-time home run record at Virginia Tech. 4 RBIs away from tying the all-time RBI record, which is right now set by Kelsey Bennett. She has 166 at the moment. What has she meant to your program at Virginia Tech, and what would that mean to her to accomplish those 2 feats?
Just a steady influence in our program from day one. You talk about Jordan being ready at third. Well, Bree Peck was.
Yeah.
Those kids, they're in the same mold. So steady influence, obviously, a lot of power. Has arguably been the best defensive third baseman in our league, and can arguably be the best center fielder defensively in our league. That's hard to do. That's an athlete.
For you, Chip, watching Bree grow over the years, what's it been like for you?
It's been amazing. You know, she's an outstanding young lady off the field. Has done really well academically. The thing that has amazed me a little bit is her transition to center field. She has taken to that really well. I think it may have been Auburn, where she literally robbed a home run. Went over the fence and grabbed the ball and kept it in the ballpark. She has become a stellar center fielder.
She's always been, and people just didn't see it. And we always joke, and we were watching film a couple weeks ago, and I threw on the UCLA game in Clearwater, and we pitched her just to, there was reasons behind it.
Sure.
And you looked at it, and it was 66 drop ball at the knees. And it was going like this. Now, did they get hits off her? Yeah, they get singles off her and all that. And I remember taking her out, and I said, you didn't throw poorly. I mean, it's fine. It's UCLA. I said, you ever played center field? No? Go out there and play center field. I don't do that to kids very often. I want them to practice in the spot they're going to play in. She went out there, and the first ball, she ran into the gap and caught it as a backhand in full stride. Never practiced there. What kind of athlete she is, So she never got reps there, and ended up being one of the best defensive center fielders in the league that year. So that's just the way she is.
Well, and another outfielder that hasn't been there long is Corey McMillan.
Yep.
I don't believe she had played outfield before she came to Virginia Tech.
Nope.
And she laughingly told me one time when I asked her post-game, have you ever played outfield before? She went, no.
Yeah.
She said, Coach Mike told me to go to right field. And I said, which one's that?
Yeah.
But she has got quite the arm out there.
Yeah.
I mean, she is an athlete and is a very, very good outfielder.
Yeah. She's a good outfielder, and her arm is one of the strongest on our team, and we have a pretty good throwing team. And that was just that was a byproduct of Bree Peck playing third base, and Bree's playing third, and Corey came in as a third baseman, and where are we going to go? And let's put you in the outfield. And she's okay. Gave her some reps, and she's turned out to be a good outfielder. What's
Bree's story? From Pennsylvania originally, comes to Virginia Tech and has been a 4-year contributor. How did you bring her to Blacksburg, and why is she a Virginia Tech Hokie, do you think?
I remember, and I don't know that I was at Kennesaw at the time or had just gotten the VT job, and I was recruiting in Alpharetta, Georgia for a national tournament. And she was playing. I said, man, that kid's pretty good. And she was committed to a mid-major at the time.
Okay.
And she committed as an 8th grader. And so she was, I think, a junior. And I think her grandpa came up to me. Hey, Coach, how you doing? He's a really good guy. Chase is awesome. And I remember talking to him. I probably shouldn't have. It would have been illegally. And I said, hey, how you doing? I can't talk to you. That kind of thing.
Sure.
And forgot all about her. And that fall, she sends us an email. And I look at it. I said, that's the kid I saw playing for so-and-so team. Those are her stats. She's a high school All-American. Let's get her on campus. So she came on campus, and rest is history.
I watched her podcast, Chip, the other day with Emma and Cassie. I know you recommended it, Triumph NIL. So are you typically a listener of their podcast?
I am. They are they're funny. With Emma and Cassie and whoever happens to be the victim of the week.
Yeah.
And of course it was Bree this time, and she told the story of she said it was an hour before the UCLA game that you came up to her and said, you want to pitch today?
I don't know about that. Yeah, maybe. I don't remember.
But what personalities those young ladies have.
Sure. Kind of going back to the field this weekend, we were talking about Stanford. What makes the Cardinals so good? You alluded to some stats. They have 2 individuals sitting over 425. They have a 2.7 ERA collectively as a whole. Seems like they're in the top 7 from an RPI standpoint for a reason.
Yeah, 3 phases they do well, and it starts with their coach. And the coach is won at Minnesota. She's winning at Stanford. Funny story about her is the first time I've coached against her, she was the first base coach in 2010 at Super Regionals for Oregon. So she's been around the game. She knows it. She's just a good coach, and I have a lot of respect for her. So they're coached well, and they do all 3 phases well.
I had to imagine. We talked about this on a summer podcast one time because I went back and I listened the other day and I asked about Stanford and Cal joining the ACC. And as a softball coach, when you first heard that news in September of 2023, you probably were jumping for joy knowing what it could do to the ACC.
Sure. It just improves the overall RPI for everybody. And so you're seeing it in basketball in the SEC.
Yeah.
You know, you just beat up on each other, and you got 7 or 8 teams in the Sweet 16. And that's kind of what happens with when you bring good teams in. You beat up on each other, and then hopefully you're battle tested by the end of the year.
You know, hats off to that Stanford program. They lose Player of the Year, Najee Candidate, and doesn't appear to have missed a beat.
Yeah.
You know, they've got a kind of a 3-headed monster in the circle.
Yep.
And they don't have a lot of complete games, but they can get a righty, a lefty.
Sure.
And they can show you a lot of different looks.
Yep. Yeah. And similar to Virginia. I mean, Virginia threw 6 pitchers at us. You just got to prepare for all 3, and your kids will be ready when whoever starts. That's why it's so important to have multiple pitchers on your staff. You don't know who to prepare for.
You heard the story behind the tree, the Stanford tree?
No.
Have you heard the story?
I do
behind
not
the tree?
know the story behind that.
The Stanford Cardinal, I don't know why they're the Cardinal, but their mascot is a tree.
Right.
Which is very interesting.
Yeah.
It is.
And I actually talked to the tree at the ACC tournament a couple weeks ago.
What'd he say?
It was a she. It was a
Okay,
she.
what'd she say?
It was a she. She. I was like, welcome to the ACC. And she was like, thank you very much, yada, yada, yada. But no. So the story is it's like the official mascot of like the band. It's not like the school's mascot. It is the mascot of the band. And it's a goofy looking thing, but that's the design. It's supposed to be, it's not supposed to be the most like, oh, like this is your mascot. No, it's supposed to be like a joke, essentially, is what it is.
Okay.
So the Stanford tree.
Okay. Well, and they reference Stanford as the farm.
They do. Yep.
Yeah, that's it's referenced as being down on the farm.
The trees on campus there are gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous.
So Stanford has had a good road trip. You know, they went to Notre Dame, swept Notre Dame. A couple of those games were ugly, and then I guess they stop off at Kentucky today, and then come to Blacksburg. So they have the advantage, I think. The time change is not a big deal for them at this point.
Sure.
Because they've been on East Coast time for 2 weeks.
Yep. Yeah, but that's East Coast time for 2 weeks. You're on the road for 2 weeks. That can wear on you.
Yeah.
That can wear on you.
I ask you every single week, but this week I want to ask you too because the weather is supposed to be, I think, nicer this week. I did double check last night. This is obviously the UVA series was a marquee series, but this is one that maybe has a little bit more with the ranking side of things too, 2 top 15 teams and also a new opponent. What do you expect from Hokie Nation this weekend? And if you had a message to the Virginia Tech fan base, what would it be?
Come watch us.
Yeah.
it's simple. 2 high-level teams. It's going to be good softball. Weather's nice. There's no excuse not to come out.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you another thing. It's alumni weekend. And we have about 45 alums coming. So that's going to be cool too.
Yeah, how special will that be for you? I know you're huge into seeing alums of the program too.
I'm looking forward to a couple of things. There's a lot of alums that I have never met before, so I'm looking forward to seeing them and just seeing their former players. It's always a big deal for me.
Chip, do you have anything else before we move on to the fun questions?
I was just going to go back just something you said on you've said before about when you recruit, you look for the athletes that are versatile and can play multiple positions, and that has to be a huge advantage for you.
Oh yeah. It's starting to be, and I said maybe to Elo last week, you can't just be a hitter. You can't just hit, because where are you going to play in position? So if you're just a hitter, you're a DP, so you got to be able to play multiple positions. And so whether that's multiple outfield positions, I don't care. You can play infield and outfield. You can catch, it just helps you get on the field when you can play multiple positions, and it helps our defense.
You mentioned the number of options that you have at the DP position. Last week, just a little bit of a scare with Maz swinging and went down, and thankfully she's okay. But what is your philosophy in terms of pitchers that hit?
Yeah,
you've got some good ones in the country that do it.
Sure.
But what is your personal thoughts on that?
If it helps you win, you do it. And so I'm always transparent in the recruiting process. Just Maz, for example, I recruited her as a hitter. Found out she could pitch, but she loves to hit. And so she came in the office on Tuesday and says, man, I'm not complaining on none of this. When can I get some at-bats? Okay, I'll get you some. And so you always run the risk. You always run the risk of somebody getting hurt. But I run the risk of falling off this ledge right here and breaking my knee when I leave here.
Right.
You know, so there's certain aspects, and there was a player about 10 or 15 years ago that was the number one pitcher, arguably in the country, and can also hit. And the coach, she made the national team. She was a really good player. And during the spring season, they had like a rainy day, and they decided to work on sliding. And they slid with this kid. She broke her leg and was out for the year.
Oh, wow.
Now that I'm not doing.
Sure.
But if Maz, you want to swing, I'm going to let you swing. And that's just we got a pitcher coming in next year that has 6 or 7 home runs right now. You want to hit? Yeah. Okay, we'll see what happens. But you can't coach by fear. You know, I just don't want to do that. So if the kids have an opportunity and they want to hit coming in, let them have it.
The kids like Maz that do both, that really requires a commitment on their part.
Well, it
from
does.
a time perspective.
It does. And I've also had kids that are pitchers that hit, that come in and say, I want to do both. And by the end of the fall, they said, well, this is way too much for me. I'm going to pitch. That happens a lot, more than you think. But you have a kid that Maz, she loves to hit. She wants to hit nukes. She tells me, I want to hit some nukes. Okay.
And she's got a pretty vicious swing, right?
She does.
Her I would think her exit velocity is on up there.
It is. Upper 70s for sure.
Wow.
That's awesome. Yeah, how do you balance that when they want to do both? How do they balance that? I know, like, you can section it off in practice, but they're also a full-time student. I mean, we talk about Michelle Chatfield, engineering student at Virginia. How do you balance doing both at the Power 5 level?
Well, I think it just depends on when, for Maz, for example, when she's getting her bullpen in. So if it's the first half of practice and the second half we hit, she just does both. Now, if she's pitching the whole time and she misses hitting, this is what we did today. Go get your swings in. So it's you have to be a good time manager for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. How about, and I forget her name. Remind me, Nick. The person, you texted me at Tennessee yesterday, 78 miles an hour.
Yeah.
How cool is that for the game of softball to get that recognition?
That's cool. Yeah, yeah.
Is it Caitlin Pickens?
Carlin.
Pickens. Carlin, I'm sorry.
Carlin Pickens, I think. It's Pickens. Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, it's cool to see. I remember she came in here a couple years ago, and she came in relief, and I'm standing out in front of the dugout, and she threw one pitch, and I looked over at one of the players. I said, that's the hardest I've ever seen, the fastest pitch I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of All-Americans. She throws gas.
Yeah.
So our challenge this morning in the office was I have to get Memu to throw 84 like he usually does, and I'm going to put it on the screen, and Memu's got to beat her now. He's got some competition.
Ready for some fun questions?
Sure.
I'm excited for this one this week. I did some research.
Okay.
I went back and I watched your introductory press conference at Virginia Tech last night.
Oh my. Okay.
Where was that, by the way?
Merriman.
It was in Merriman?
Yeah.
In like the football team room?
Yeah.
Okay. In that press conference, you said that Virginia Tech has been on your mind for a long time. What was your impression of Virginia Tech before you took this job?
Well, I had some friends that had come here out of high school, and they loved it. And to me, I always knew. I used to drive up 81 from Atlanta to back to where my parents lived, and I'm just like, man, this area is really nice. I had never been here before, and so I'm going on 460, and I see the mountains and no traffic, and the horse farms. This place is really nice. So the impressions were good.
You said Coach Beamer called you when you took the job.
He called me. The day I got hired, or I was announced, I probably had 75 calls. And so I originally just put it on mute. So I put Coach Beamer right to my inbox. And so that was, I still have that saved, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And so you get to the press conference, and I was really nervous anyway, and I show up to Merriman, and Coach Beamer sitting in the front row. Man, nerve-wracking, but it's all good. Made it through.
What did he kind of say in that message? Just welcome to Virginia Tech?
Yeah, and you'll love it here, and looking forward to having you, those kind of things.
You also said you got engaged a week before you took this job at Virginia Tech.
I did.
What a 2 weeks in the Pete DeMoore household.
Yeah, it was. My wife and I were dating for a couple of years at Kennesaw and get the job. And a funny story. So she's from Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
She went to Georgia.
Okay.
And I always told her if Virginia Tech ever comes open, I'm gonna go for it. And so she's at work, and Virginia Tech called a couple days after regionals, and I didn't answer because it was a number I didn't know. And I texted her and I said, VT just called, and she goes, "Oh my God, I'm moving to Virginia." It's all good. But yeah, we got engaged, and I'm not a planner usually. I plan practice, and that's pretty much it. So we go in early February. We hadn't even talked about getting married, and I was at the baseball game on an off day, and she texts me. She goes, "Meet me at Duck Pond in 20 minutes." So okay. So I get in Duck Pond, and there's this guy with her and our dog. Well, it was a preacher. Because we're getting married today. Okay. So I'm in. You should see my wedding picture. I look like this.
Wait, that's a true story?
True story.
You got married that day?
At Duck Pond, yeah.
That is fascinating.
So if there's...
that's insane.
It should be like, Coach Beamer and me, because I got married at Duck Pond. So, no, it's all good.
That is awesome.
Just the lore of Virginia Tech.
We may have to clip that.
Yeah.
That was an old-time thing said on this podcast set right there. That was awesome.
Yeah. So shout out to my wife. Yeah.
Shout out to you said she listens typically.
Oh, I'm sure she does.
Okay.
So how is Wobbles doing?
Wobble's good. Wobble, we got him, I might have told you this, we got him December 22nd, and he was about 33 pounds. Mm-hmm. Homeboy's 65 pounds already. Sweet dog, listens. We're going to training, I think, next week, and he's a sweet dog.
So I was at the Rail Yard Dogs hockey game Friday night, and Crystal, one of the alum that's coming here, I think she played on the second Virginia Tech softball team, and she's a dog trainer.
We're going to
and
Crystal
she
next
said
week.
you had reached out to her for some help with Wobbles.
Yep.
So it's full circle here.
It is. It's a family. This is home.
This is home. So you're from Maryland, speaking of home. Mm-hmm. What are your top 3 Maryland or Baltimore-based athletes? From Maryland, played for a Baltimore sports team. Mm-hmm. What are your top 3 that first come to mind?
Babe Ruth. Brooks Robinson. Mm-hmm. Baltimore. Cal. Yeah. I was gonna say. That's an easy one.
If you had to pick a football one, who would it be?
Johnny U, probably. Johnny Unitas.
Okay.
Baltimore Colts. That's way before me, but everybody knew him growing up.
Also before me, before my time.
Yeah.
But Ray Lewis is probably up there
nasty.
too.
Yeah, Ray Lewis is nasty.
Big Ray Lewis guy. You've been following the NCAA tournament at all?
A little bit.
Okay. Maryland, you know what their starting 5, their nickname is?
What's that?
The Crab 5.
Crowd 5?
The Crab 5.
Crab 5. I got it.
Crab 5.
Yeah.
Okay, since you're playing Stanford this weekend, top 3, I don't know why my hands are behind my head. Top 3 Bay Area based athletes.
Well, he's a favorite, all-time favorite of mine is Will Clark.
Okay.
You got to go Ricky Henderson. And let's go Kevin Fagan because he played for the 49ers.
There you go.
How about that?
How about that?
Yeah. Little softball connection.
There you go.
Little softball connection there. All right, where are you taking recruits to dinner in Blacksburg?
Just depends. We go a lot to the country club. Country club is nice. University club is really nice. Mm-hmm. I want to try the Brazilian steakhouse.
Oh, the one by Starbucks on UCB?
Yeah.
What's the place called?
Gaucho? Yeah. Oh. But, I mean, there's a lot of good places. 622, Cabo. I mean, you can't go wrong with a lot of the places around here.
Are you a PK's guy at all?
Not with the recruits.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That's probably best.
Well, we have been there for lunch with the recruits. I lied about that. Yeah, we've been there a couple times.
It's a good casual spot.
Yep.
Where are you taking your wife to dinner in Blacksburg?
Ooh, 622 she likes. Mm-hmm. We actually went on a date 2 weeks ago.
Did you?
And we're on a time crunch because Rose, obviously, bedtime is a pretty important thing for us. So we went to a Mexican joint in Radford. Roca's or yeah, I went into
Wait,
Roca's.
is
And
that
it was
the
good.
one? Shoot, what's it called? The bypass right before you cross the bridge?
Yeah,
Okay.
It's good. And but we're gonna do it again.
Okay.
And, we'll see where I take her. Maybe in Blacksburg somewhere.
By the way, I just want to let you know, I know you tweet about it all the time. I should have been warned. And Chip, you know this very, very well. I was driving on Beamer Way the other day.
Yeah.
Sure enough,
You get hit?
did not get hit.
Okay.
Missed me by a couple feet.
Yeah.
But I'm like, there's no way I can be driving right now and be hit by a softball. But I knew I was going to have to tell you that on the next podcast. It was last week.
You know, the thing, we obviously used to do Bomb Friday, and that was out of necessity because we don't need a lot of balls on the road every day. But we're getting to the point in this point of the season where they like to hit on the field, and it does us a lot of benefit. So tomorrow, 2:30 to 3:30 or 4, stay off Beamer Way because we're going to hit some bombs.
Okay.
All right, cool.
All right. I will not be on Beamer Way then. I can't afford my car getting hit. I'm about to graduate. So anyway, Coach, you have anything else, Chip, by the way?
No, just looking forward to this weekend. I think this is Coach Beamer used to say, the more you win, the bigger the series becomes.
Yeah, sure.
So obviously, have success against Stanford this week, win a couple more series, and then that end of the year against Florida State becomes humongous.
Yeah, big
Yes.
one.
So good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Be there. Hokie Nation will turn out in force, I'm sure.
Virginia Tech and Stanford, 3-game set at Tech Softball Park this weekend. It starts on Friday night at 6 p.m. Coach, as always, appreciate your time. Thanks for coming in person. I know it's a little bit of a hassle, but
good.
I appreciate you coming in, and I hope people enjoyed it. So thank
Hope
you
so
very
too.
much.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So for Chip Grubb, Pete Demore, Nick Brown, I'm Carter Hill saying so long from Blacksburg, and we'll talk to you very soon.